All right, team. Welcome to the Boulder Athlete Podcast. I am Josh, and today I'm joined by Karen Rotondo. Karen, thank you a ton for making time for this. I have been following you on social media for a while. So Karen slash
Okay.
AKA Fit Grandma, and
Yep,
you are
yep.
one fit grandma, and there's no doubt about it. Let me give you
Thank
a
you.
quick intro, and then we're going to get into some really meaty topics. I think that I'm
Okay.
really eager to hear your perspective on. So, Karen, AKA Fit Grandma, you are a military daughter, graduated from West Point, super impressive. 63 years old, registered nurse, who in October will be married 40 years. And the way you phrased it was you got the same boyfriend for 46 years total, which I
Yes, I
got
do.
a kick out of that. You've got three daughters, you have nine grandchildren, you're a golfer, you're a wine lover, and you shared this line that I'm going to read. And I really like that. Something you felt you wanted to share with our audience. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. You got to stay disciplined in the season of life that you're in. Set a small window of non-negotiables and get comfortable being uncomfortable. I thought that was really well stated. I love that. And that's
My
the intro.
grandkids are sick of hearing, "Get comfortable being uncomfortable," because I tell them it practically every time I see them.
I mean, there's so much wisdom packed into that statement.
Mm.
So happy Friday. Karen, thanks for making time to hang out today.
Thank you for inviting me to the podcast. You have amazing athletes before me on this podcast, some inspirational stories. I hope I'm just kinda halfway there to make it worth your time.
It's absolutely going to be a great discussion. It's 100% worth the time. Look, there's some topics I want to get into, Karen. I shared a little bit about those in advance. You've got some real wisdom and some interesting perspective. Given your position as a registered nurse, one of the things that stood out in what you had shared was one, that you are a nurse, but two, like that allows you to see a lot of health related challenges that are just working through society right now.
Absolutely.
Where we were 40 years ago, where we are today, you've seen a lot. You've been involved
I
in a
have.
lot. And it kind of intersects with where your aspirations are. And I'm sure it shapes your lifestyle and your motive to stay healthy and fit. So let's dive into that a little bit because I just think you have unique perspective there. I'd love to hear from.
Okay, so to begin with, I'll just state that I've been a nurse doing patient care at the bedside in a hospital since 1982. So I've at least seen a lot of changes in the healthcare industry. I've worked in the emergency room, the intensive care unit, currently in the recovery room, and all of those years of nursing have been in those units, except my nursing, first year out of nursing school, I was on an orthopedic floor, interestingly enough. So I think I've seen a lot of broken bones and hips and knees to share some perspective on. So
Good
that's
grounding.
my background professionally.
Yeah, that's great grounding. So and you had alluded to this in the brief that you had shared in advance, which by the way, you shared so much good detail, which I really appreciated. It just gives me
Okay.
so much. I'm like,
Boy.
wow, I can't wait to talk to you about this. This is going to be great. So you're fit. You're super fit. You're 63 years old. The things that I see you doing on social media are things that, there's plenty of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds that can't do. And you're doing it with great intensity and technique and all the things. And so that takes a lot of years to build up that level of fitness, and the consistency that you're demonstrating, I think, is the thing that is the most inspiring. Yeah, talk to me a little bit about your motive. I'm trying to intersect it with the fact that you've been a nurse for so long and seeing what you have seen. I'm making an
Right.
assumption that it is providing some incentive for you.
It absolutely is providing incentive. I can honestly say I've taken care of 30-year-old men, women who can't pull themselves up in a cart. I say, "Can you pull yourself up in the bed?" And then I got to get someone to help me boost them into the bed because they can't get there. I think some of the big changes clearly are diet and lack of exercise, and it's shocking actually how unfit the population is. And I think sometimes my coworkers, they look at me and they think I'm perhaps being judgmental. I try to keep my fitness to myself. I don't share it with my family too much. I don't share it with my friends. The only reason my coworkers have any interest is I think some of them are orthopedic surgeons and maybe I'm a potential customer in the future and I have been. I think they're just intrigued by it all. And I don't want anyone to think that this is something that you have to do to the level that I do or you do or a lot of athletes do. It's just a matter of just getting a little more mobile in your life and taking responsibility. If you don't have the discipline to control what you eat and how you move, I'm not sure how you can be disciplined to have other successes in your life, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Where do you think that I mean, you graduated from West Point, so
No,
talk
I
to me.
did not graduate. My daughter graduated from West Point, and she's the one who introduced me to CrossFit. And I found it very interesting because she was home on leave before deploying to Afghanistan. And she said to me, "Did I know what CrossFit was?" I said, "No, I had no idea." She explained it. I said, "It sounds great. Let me go with you to the next class." And she said, "Oh, no, no, no. You kind of have to go through an on-ramp." She went through the whole thing, and then she got real silent. She looked at me and said, "Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not, Mom." I said, "Why is that?" She says, "Well, it kind of has like a cultish following, and I think you might just fall right into that." And here I am, 13 years later on a CrossFit podcast. Go figure. So that's kind of how I was introduced to it through her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I'm no West Point grad. Those people are amazing. She's
Okay.
my hero. She's great.
Well, you've shaped one, and so that's just as inspiring.
It's the discipline. Very disciplined household.
No doubt about it. In fact, I wanna get into that, but there's one little detail that I think was related to the story that you just shared that I got a good kick out of, was you had kept this you got into CrossFit. Please correct me if I'm misinterpreting.
You're going down the right path.
You got into CrossFit and you're like, "I'm not gonna tell anybody about this. I'm just
Mhm.
gonna kinda keep this to myself." And then your husband caught wind of it somehow. Tell me about that story.
That was after I'd been doing it for probably 6 years. So nobody as a matter of fact, the daughter who introduced me to it is sitting outside on the balcony, and she has no idea I'm doing this right now. So it'll be an interesting conversation a little bit later tonight. But yeah, my husband and I were in Florida, like we do sometimes come down from Michigan, sitting in a pool, and he gets a phone call from a friend of his who says, "Wow, I'm watching your wife on the leaderboard." And my husband goes, "What's a leaderboard? What is he talking? What's this guy talking about?" And so I kind of poo-pooed it and, made light of it. And but yeah, he had no idea I'd been doing any of this.
And this is what year?
She talked to me about it in late August of 2012, and I probably started doing it in January, kind of after the holidays. I had been a Bikram yoga nut before that, 10 years, hot Bikram yoga, a class done in a 105, 110-degree room with about 85% humidity. You're in there for about an hour and 40 minutes. I loved it. Couldn't wait to get under the heater. Way better than cold plunging. Just letting you know. The hot room is way better. Loved it. And I had done that probably at least 2 years, both the CrossFit and the Bikram yoga, one 5 days a week, one 3 days a week. And then, you just progress through a few things. My husband had mentioned without me saying much about it that, maybe you should get rid of that yoga a little bit and do a little more cardio, blah, 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 blah. So I ended up just kind of weaning the yoga out of my life as much as I loved it, just because we just don't have time to do all this stuff. And that's kind of slowly getting into the CrossFit, did it a couple days a week. Next thing you know, I'm going to boot camp from 6 to 7, CrossFit from 7 to 8. Now on Saturdays, I'm doing the Olympic weightlifting. And you just kind of roll with it, roll with the people, the community you're with.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that was always the best way to do it because I think having a coach and a program to follow like Boulder probably would have kept me out of a little trouble. And I think that's important to address to especially the masters athletes, but I like to refer to us as the mega masters. You got your 35s to 55s, and then you got your 55 plus. We definitely have, you're going to wake up one day and not be able to do this with your hands. I'm telling you, it's going to happen because you got all this arthritis now. And then once you get an injury, now you got more arthritis. So I wish I would have tapped into some resources and not left myself alone and unsupervised in a gym with my training partner who was as old as I as were. And we just thought there's no big deal. Let's just do another workout. Let's just do another 100 pull-ups. We'll figure it out. That
Yeah.
was not good.
So what I'm hearing you say is not only did you fall in love with CrossFit, your personality type really pushed your involvement in CrossFit to a degree that
Yeah.
probably wasn't, I don't want to say unhealthy, but it wasn't normal for most people. Like you were taking it to another level.
Well, yes and no. I think I was pretty ordinary in that you just want to get better. You want a new skill. And for me, it's not just about the physical changes, but fitness and particularly CrossFit is so good for your brain as we age to learn hard things. I don't want to learn to play the piano because I'm not going to be a good piano player, but I really enjoy learning these difficult moves. And I feel it's important that your brain capitalize on that. It's hard to learn Olympic weightlifting. I think it's as hard as golf. My golf coach asked me once if I had ever done any Olympic weightlifting. And apparently that's a kind of thing in the golf world because it's so detail focused. So very detail focused. And I think Olympic weightlifting is very detail focused. And when you don't start learning that till you're 55 or 58, your brain is pretty set. So you're rewiring and trying to do difficult things. And that is what's kind of keeping me in it because I see in my job, I see in the community what these neurodegenerative brain disorders cause. I just want to stay sharp. And it's just like any muscle or anything else in your body, you have to practice it. You have to practice hard things. So I'm just embracing that and embracing that journey as I move forward. Looking back, I wish I would have taken it a little more safely, not just so haphazardly. I guess I didn't really understand how old my body was until it broke down. And now I'm learning that and am committed to a different pathway moving forward, a safer one.
Refresh me on, sorry, I think you may have already said this. How old were you when you got into CrossFit?
Um, the maybe around 56, 50. What's
Okay.
13 minus now? I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
I'm
Okay.
63 minus 13.
We don't have to be super precise, but roughly,
Oh, for
um,
sure. Over 50,
yeah,
for
you're over
sure.
50. You're in your 50s. Okay. So that's helpful. I'm thinking of CrossFit can really Olympic lifting specifically, naturally part of CrossFit, but Olympic lifting specifically, to your point, is very detail focused. It really forces you to become really body aware. You have to have
Mhm,
a sense of where your body is in space. You got to understand how to move in a very particular way. And in doing so, you understand where you have limitations. Hey, my
mhm.
mobility is a little, wonky here. My flexibility in this area is limited and it's forcing me to move in this way and I need to be moving in that way. Though that's just like incredibly powerful data. To have that sense of awareness of your body, maybe you had some of that previously.
Yoga was
Olympic
great.
lifting Yeah, Olympic lifting, I mean, it, like, puts you to the test real quick. Like, you can either do these things
Mhm.
or you can't. Okay. We got a lot of things to work on. To
We
learn
have a
that at
lot.
50 versus someone who's getting involved in it, not that I'm advocating for youngsters to get involved in CrossFit,
No, no,
although
no,
my kid does and I love it.
for sure.
To gain all that body awareness and all that information about themselves early on and build a foundation at a young age, gosh, I actually I do advocate for that in our house, but I don't push that on
I would love for
anybody
my
else.
grandkids to get a little bit more involved in it. I don't think there's a sport out there that it wouldn't benefit.
Then talk to me about, because we've been dancing around this, the injuries. You said you went about this a little bit haphazardly. I think you had listed a handful of things that you've experienced, and I'm sure that's some of the list. Talk me through some of the journey you've been on from an injury and a comeback perspective.
Well, I also think that being a nurse, you tend to view things a little differently. There's a difference between discomfort and pain, right? There's a difference between a problem and an inconvenience. And I think that all of these little injuries, who doesn't have some kind of itis? You got your tendonitis, your plantar fasciitis, your epicondylitis, but I think I started getting in a little trouble when I had dislocated my fingers. I dislocated my fingers probably a total of 3 times. To me, it's a little discomfort. So then you would try to deadlift or do things holding the bar with maybe these two fingers because these so now you're getting the epicondylitis and now it just led to a lot of other things that I'm just chasing. I'm trying to catch up, get rid of this, get rid of this. And as an inexperienced athlete, I was trying to just suck it up. You don't want to be that girl, right? That girl that can't do it, that girl that's complaining, that girl says it hurts. I think I have a pretty high pain tolerance, and some of that's just because I see what people who have real pain, what they go through. So all of my injuries, I just looked at as inconveniences versus injuries. So they never really got healed. They just led to other problems. Okay. We'll just kind of fast forward and lead up to the big injury. So the games in what was that, 2024, when they allowed masters teams to start, you had to have two males and two females on a team. They had to be regional athletes. I don't know anybody. CrossFit allowed you to sign up on a list. I got contacted by a gentleman from Boston, a gentleman from Oregon, and a woman from Texas. Now, they're all like 57, and I'm 61. I'm training on my own in my basement, put a little pressure on myself to make sure I could maybe do things a little heavier because I'm going to be with younger athletes. I knew I was getting a little sore, had a little sore shoulder, had some hamstring issues. So August 3rd, this was 2 weeks before we're supposed to go to the games. I went to a high school track and started doing some laps. Ran a 400, a 200, 100. And in my head, I thought, let's just try to take a little longer stride and run a little faster. My hamstring snapped. I went forward, broke this wrist, fell, jacked up this elbow. And now I got to tell these teammates this Monday morning that this is what I knew. The first thing I did was grab my hamstring. The second thing, I grabbed my shoulder. I didn't even really pay attention much to my broken wrist. I had an appointment with an orthopedic doctor the next morning. I never went to the hospital, never did any of that. I just went to the doctor and he got me a little scared. But needless to say, since August of 2024, I had been rehabbing this shoulder. Everybody told me to stop what I'm doing. Everybody told me I was too old to be doing CrossFit. If you just stop moving and stop doing all this stuff, all your pain's going to go away. You're too old for this, Grandma. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? I did everything I was supposed to do. All the PT, everything. Nothing's getting better. I specifically remember being in the PT's office 10 weeks into all this rehab and just crying, saying, like, I am not any better. I have numbness running down my arm, my fingers. I can't move at night. Anyway, kind of to get through that whole thing, an MRIs of my neck. The open in 2025, I did with a neck brace on because they had me immobility. I wish I had some good video of
You
that,
thought
but
people
yeah.
thought you were crazy before. Now they
My
really think
God,
you're
yeah.
crazy.
Okay, yeah.
Gosh.
So, you know, I said, I'm not redoing that one for sure. I can't even breathe. Anyway, so I followed all the rules, thought I was getting better, joined Boulder not quite a year ago, that May. I knew that once I got through this acute phase, I needed to be in a regular program, have some professionals kind of guide you in your training. And I was committed to that. I pulled out of MFC. I said, I'm just going to heal all this stuff. So I started, getting back slowly. I knew I wasn't 100%. Once again, maybe I'm just old. Maybe I just need to move forward. And then a rehab doctor told me to get another scan because it had been over a year. And he's like, you have a full tear in your shoulder. I can't do anything for you. Surgery is your only option. I'm like, all right. That was September of last year. And I decided to go to MFC knowing that I had a 1 centimeter tear there. And anybody who was there this last year, especially a woman, everything was pretty heavy. We were doing 35-pound dumbbell presses, 15-foot rope climbs, 75-pound snatches. It was heavy. And somewhere there, I completely ruptured this bicep tendon. So when I did end up having surgery, the bicep was messed up, everything was messed up. So I am currently 16 weeks out from recovering from that. And I am committed to doing everything the right way.
Attaboy.
And trusting the process and the journey. And I think that was really hard in the beginning. And I don't think it's just for me. I think a lot of masters athletes feel like they need to catch up.
Yeah.
And especially masters athletes who are retired, have a little more time on our hands. I can spend another half hour working on toes to bar. I can, and we kind of get in this trap. So if you don't have some kind of guideline, I would really advocate for that and kind of keep you safe.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm committed to. I'm going to be the Boulder Build Back girl. I'm going to see what happens in the next year. This is
Let's
me.
go. Let's go. Well, I'm gonna be following you, and I'm gonna be very interested
Okay.
in how things are going. I think you're probably gonna have some others that are tuning in to your recovery as
I
well.
hope so.
But, like, Karen,
We all have to have an injury. There's nobody over 55 or 60 that isn't walking around with something. Come on.
yeah,
I'm
no doubt
joking.
about it. I am here like, real talk, when you say things like, "You're retired, you got more time," like, people would go spend an extra half an hour doing toe to bar. I don't know
Doing
if that's right.
handstand walking?
I really don't
The
know.
hand surgeon's like, "Why are you walking on your hands?"
Yeah.
He's like, "You out of your mind?" I'm like, "Well, gotta do it."
I mean, to me, this feels like it's something that's unique to a subset of people that, have this competitive drive that can be both a blessing and a curse. And the
Mhm.
blessing is you
Agreed.
do things and accomplish things that a lot of people don't accomplish because you have the discipline to get yourself to do the hard things when you don't want to do it. You've got the consistency to accumulate those benefits over time. And then the downside of that is it's hard to it creates blind spots. And
Absolutely.
I suffer from this too. And some of those
Mhm.
blind spots are, I think I can keep moving. I think I can
Mhm.
still do that thing even though my
Don't be a
body's
crybaby.
swollen.
That's another
Yeah.
one of my things. Don't be a crybaby.
Yeah. And so that's tough. That's a really tough thing. And like you as well as anybody have experienced tilting on both sides of
Mhm.
that line where you're reaping the rewards on one side and you're rupturing a bicep on the other, and that line can be really thin. In fact, Jason talks about this a lot, and I really like the truth of this, which is if you want to be a really competitive athlete, the line between hyper competitive and flirting with injury is razor thin.
Mhm.
It's razor thin because you have to find those limits. You got to bump right up against them, and then you got to figure out a way to stay on the good side of it. And sometimes you don't. And sometimes you tilt over to the other side, and you know, unfortunate things happen. But that is the
Mhm.
line that you have to kind of be aware of.
You
Sounds to me
do.
like you found that line.
Well, I'm trying. I don't know if I did, but I'm gonna continue to try. I think also for some of athletes, I'm trying to even embrace that that would be actually something that would describe me. But um I did do a little coaching too, and I think, high school, a little bit of high school, a little bit of grade school. But you know how that you want that person on your team. You want the winner. I don't want to be someone who's, if you're not here to win it, I'm not sure I want you on the team. But I think as you get older, master athletes, it's hard to like, when I believe that, because I do believe that, but then there's also that part of you is like, yeah, that changes though a little bit. Like you're just a little too old to go that far deep in it. Like you're gonna have to learn to balance it a little bit more. And I think that's a hard thing for me to do. I'm definitely learning. But I find myself saying things like, well, what would you tell your grandkids to do? I tell them to suck it up. I tell them, well, you got one choice. You can go home or you can do it. Which one are you going to do? Okay. Well, that sounds great when you're telling somebody else.
And they're
But when you got to
13
do it,
and 17,
I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, I'm working on it.
honestly, I'm so thankful that you're being as candid as you are and as transparent as you are. Like, look, I still think of myself as like the 26-year-old kid sometimes that's just finding my way through life. And I think I can conquer the world. And I am humbled by that truth often. We're like, no, that's not true. That's not true
No.
anymore. But my mindset is there. My body isn't. And so I'm hearing the same thing in the way that you describe yourself is that like you look, your mind is like, I can still do the things. I want to go, go, go. And
Right.
where I'm like, I freaking love that. I
Yeah.
love
Because
that.
you physically can figure out how to back off it. But backing off it mentally is the bigger challenge. It really, really is.
That's
This
right.
whole shoulder thing, just to get on a bike and keep riding a bike and keep trying to do what you can do. It's hard to stay disciplined in that, but I had to. And I had no choice. I'm walking around with my ice packs and my nerve blocks and, whatever, doing whatever I can do. It really could have been comical to watch from the outside. Anyway.
So this is a really good segue into a conversation I want to get into, which is around Boulder. And so you start doing Boulder and this like trust the
Mhm.
process
Mhm.
moment or mantra or philosophy that you start to adopt around that time. And you had made a comment on this, like had you had a coach or basically some programming that you could follow and just stick to that, how
Mhm.
much that may have helped you at various seasons of life, but you're doing that now. Talk to me about what that experience has been like, the difference in your philosophy and anything you're feeling physically.
Well, I will still say I do challenge myself and find myself a little frustrated to pull back on a few things. It's really hard to scale, especially weights, but I know I have to. I have not done any clean or anything pushed over my head, a little bit of dumbbell work since MFC. Since then, I mean, I haven't done any Olympic weightlifting, some deadlifting, yes. But when I'm getting back into the boulder programming, start at 70% or 80%. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to have to start at like 10%.
Hmm.
So I'm going to be okay with that. I know that because I know that's going to keep me safe. So it's going to be a slow process. I value that. I really enjoy the color coding that I have to pull back on sometimes or speed up sometimes. I think it's a great program. I'm really happy with it. And I think if anybody tries it, they'll have good results and they'll stay safe and they'll feel a part of a community that can help you get over those humps when you need to. So I'm looking forward to getting back into some Olympic weightlifting. I go home Sunday. I have a meeting with my physical therapist on Wednesday. He was not happy that I had done any little bit of workouts in the open at all. And I don't know if I'm going to do this third one. I mean, I can do the burpees, but I'm not sure I'm going to be doing any thrusters. That's for sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I won't share an opinion on that. I don't want to inform whether you do or don't. What have you done in the open so far?
Okay, so and this kind of ties into what I'm talking about as being unsupervised and supervised. So in 26.1, I had already mentioned it to the physical therapist that I wanted to at least do the wall balls and the box jumps. He's like, I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single wall ball, let it fall on the ground. I'm not going to catch it overhead, and then I'm going to pick it up and do it again. And we agreed to that. We agreed to one set of wall balls, the box jumps. I did that, but I did do an extra wall ball because he says I'm an overachiever and I wanted to prove him right. So I did do an extra one with that.
On all your wall balls, you didn't catch. Did you stay
I
accountable
did
to that?
not catch them. I just squatted, threw them up, let them hit the ground. Picked them up, threw them up, let them hit the ground. Did the box jumps, then I was done. I was happy with that. It was an agreement that I had made. Okay, great. Supervised. Fast forward to the next week. Unsupervised. He doesn't call me, and I purposely didn't call him. I go in with my training partner, Helen, who's as close to nuts as me as I can get. And we go, and she is a level, I think she's got a level 2. She runs her own shout out to CrossFit Kids Detroit program. She's been involved in it and all kinds of sports, and she's great. And she's a very, very tough judge. So we get into the 26.2. I said, all right, I'm gonna do one pull-up. I'm gonna do those what did we have to do? That was it the thrusters first or the dumbbell snatches
Most
and the
matches,
lunging, right? I'm gonna do lunging, do snatches, I'm gonna do one pull-up. I got that done in like a minute and 40 seconds. She says, well, you got 13 and a half minutes. Don't you want to do like another pull-up? Don't you want to do another pull-up?
did you
Another pull-up? And so I'm like, okay, well, now I can get back to those lunges and those snatches. And I did that. And she goes, well, you got like 6 minutes. Don't you want to do a chest to bar? I'm like, all right. So I ended up doing like 10 of those. I'm resting and I'm doing strict, just kind of not doing any kipping. Didn't feel as good. the next time. So I have yet to see what the physical therapist is going to say about that. But
Might wanna
see,
just
once again,
keep that one yourself.
I know, keep it to myself. He probably has already checked. But, supervised versus unsupervised. And that's where I personally get screwed up because I just think, oh, I feel good. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it again. Let's do another one.
Well, you're
So
not
anyway,
alone.
that's what I think I'm like in like 950th place or something. I don't know. I didn't even check. I didn't even check the 26.2. So this one, I don't think it's going to be worth the thrusters or the cleans to even do it. So I'll probably just
Yeah.
I'm done.
I mean, if you haven't trained anything overhead, doing it in the open, probably not the best environment or set of circumstances to go experience that for the first time.
For sure, especially, with her telling me, "You can do that. You can
Yeah.
do that."
I mean, I love it as a story. I love the story.
Yeah,
It's great. Now
and
that
I
I'm
and I
seeing
and
you
like I
sitting here
said,
and
I
smiling about
really
it.
wanna get better. I wanna get better, and the other thing that's kinda given me a little bit of relief, I know it's not great for a lot of people, but am I correct when I say, MFC put on Instagram that they're not competing in October? They're moving that to June of 2027? Because in my head, I'm like, "If I can get to be, like, 90% by October, maybe I'll try it."
Mm.
Now it's not an option. Now it's like, okay, wait for the open next year. And who knows? Who knows where you're ever going to be? I mean, honestly, it's not is it my long term goal, like to stand on the podium at the games? Once again, if it's not, I don't want you on my team. But the reality of the situation is really, I'm doing this to stay fit. I had the surgery so I could throw a football to my grandson. I just want to live more healthy and stay mentally sharp. That's the real goal for me. And I think that's the real goal for most masters because we're not making any money at this. We're spending a lot of money on it. Where it takes me, it takes me. That's all I can say.
I
We'll see.
mean, I wish you didn't have the injuries that you had, but
Wish I was 30. That's what I wish.
I'm so inspired by your mentality, and I just love your no nonsense, go get it, like, a little bit of suck it up buttercup, just get it done,
For
don't
sure.
complain. I am wired so similarly, and
It's a little uncommon out there. It's a little uncommon for the younger parenting.
yeah.
I'm old
Oh, yeah.
school in my house. My
Yeah,
grandkids
absolutely.
do what
I
they
mean,
do in my house. It's the way
look,
it is.
I could go on a real rant for this. I'll give just a teaser of what's going through my head at the moment. Okay, I'll use this is a safe example. I'm a football coach for my kid. His
Mhm,
tackle football team, youth football coach. I've done that for a couple years now. And so, hey, let's be honest, what it takes to be a competitive football team. Like there's a lot of things. Toughness among many things.
absolutely.
I'll leave it at that. Now, do I want my kid to be a model of that? You bet. You bet. And is that something I took a ton of pride in when I was his age and throughout my football career? Yeah, big time. Because we're
Mhm,
all dealing with like the things, you get rolled up on and blow a knee out and dislocate a shoulder and like concussions. I dodged bullets on that one. But like these are all things that people are dealing with.
mhm,
It would be very easy and convenient to just like, I'm going to go stay on the sideline. I'm going to take this play off. I'm going to do it. No, like that's not how we roll. You're in it. Or if you need to take one play, take your one play. And then I expect you to come back out and like
right.
bring yourself back in because you're ready. This is not an excuse to spend time on the sidelines. And when you see a lot, I mean, you're coaching a lot of kids,
Mhm. Yeah, football for sure.
you see the variance in
Mhm,
that particular area of toughness. Some really have it, and you're like, man, I just love seeing these young kids that have that already at such a young age. And then you see somewhere you're like, man, I'm worried about how you're going to handle life. You know,
I know.
life's going to throw some
I would
real suckers at you.
my youngest daughters who I'd spent the most time coaching, probably 10 years of volleyball and AAU volleyball, and there were many times I'm driving to practice and I told her, "I'm gonna make an example out of you at practice today, just to let you know. It's really not about you, but you're gonna hear a lot and you're gonna be sitting on the sideline and because it's just the way I felt that I could handle the situation without getting any repercussions from anyone else, like I'm tougher on my child than anybody else's.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, nowadays it's more delicate than it's ever been. Coaching concept, parenting, it's harder, I would say, probably than it's ever been, just given the way society's evolved and what's now normal and what the expectations are and the can and can't do's and those things, and some of which are very healthy and I'm applaud, and some I'm like, do you realize what we're creating now that we follow these rules? You know, the way our childrens are now are growing up. I don't want to go on that rant. I could get lost in that one, but I love all to say I really love your mindset and this positivity and just the way that you have approached life. And you had said a couple things additionally that you know you want to be active, you want to be fit, you want to be brave, you want to be grateful. I loved those descriptive terms, and I think we all want
Sign
things.
every card that I give my grandkids. Be brave, be strong, be grateful. That's how I sign
That's
my
so good.
cards.
No, that's so good. I'm also going to call you on this because you said when I was like a really competitive athlete, and you're like, I don't know if I would describe myself as that. And then you went on to say all this stuff about, "Oh, MFC, and, oh, did you know about this?" And then I had to go conclude,
Yeah,
"Well, I'm shooting for the
yeah.
game." I
You
think
just get
all
in
of the competitive
you just
athletes
get
had
in
about
it. You just get in it and you can't get out. I mean, anyway,
I think you qualify.
thank you. We'll see how it all turns out. But I did want to talk a little bit about my blood clot
Yeah, yeah.
because I think the average person would have handled it much differently than I did.
I think it's safe to say
And
that's
I
probably
would
true.
Yeah, well, I would like to say don't do what I do, do what I say, okay? Because nurses tend to just do things differently. And I probably put myself at a really high risk for pretending it's okay, that everything was okay.
Yeah, talk us through it. What happened?
So let's talk about like what is pulmonary embolism? What are the risk factors? How are you diagnosed? And then what are those complications to that? So, pulmonary embolism is a blood clot that travels and ends up in your lung. They're usually found in your calf muscles and they break free if they land in your lungs. Pulmonary embolism, land in your brain, you have a stroke. That's basically what it is. In terms of risk factors, I didn't really qualify for any of those. It's more males than females, not quite doubled, but fair difference. With the mean age in a male being around 59 years old, and for females around 62 years 7 months, and I was 63 years 3 months, so I was pretty right on spot with that, other than very rare. From the arthroscopic shoulder surgery I had, I mean, I just like Google. Anybody could Google these stats, but I think it was like a 0.17% chance of having a pulmonary embolism from a 45-minute shoulder arthroscopic procedure versus like knee replacement, hip replacement. Those stats line up to more like 30%. 3 out of 10 people are at risk for blood clot. So, two things I want to say from a nursing point of view: when the doctor tells you you need to get up and move, take this aspirin, wear these compression hose. You need to do those things. And I did do those. I went home and wore the socks. I took the aspirin. I was very mobile. Anyway, moving right along. Other risk factors: not a male, don't smoke, not pregnant, not immobile, but undiagnosed clotting disorder, undiagnosed cancer, and surgery. Those are things that will put you at risk for a pulmonary embolism. Well, when I went to the hospital, I didn't have any of the classic signs either. Chest pain. Well, I had the chest pain, but shortness of breath, increased heart rate, feeling of impending doom, bloody sputum. I didn't have any of that. All I had was a little chest pain that woke me up in the middle of the night. And I will tell you, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. You got your immobilizer, your stuff all here. And I just had to get out of the recliner. And as I'm walking, I'm like, I got to walk that off. I didn't feel short of breath. I wasn't diaphoretic. I wasn't sweating, having all these crazy sensations, but I just thought like I had this gas pain. And then the nursing brain kicked in and I went, orthopedic surgery, anchors in my arm. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm like thinking, oh gosh, how much is this going to cost me? I should have taken a shower.
Huh.
I can't take these clothes off. I'm going to go to the hospital in this outfit. Like, these are all like stupid things nurses talk about. I can't wear that. I'm going to be wearing these clothes for the next 4 days. But I knew I
No
knew
joke.
that this was nothing to kind of mess with. So I
Yeah.
go and wake my husband up, and most of my family will say, "Care don't care." If care cares, it's probably a problem. So I wake my husband up and
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, I think," and I'm just like this, "Hey, I think you need to take me to the hospital." He's like, "What are you talking about?" So he gets out of bed to go put sweats on. I'm brushing my teeth because, of course, I'm not going to the hospital without my toothbrush, you know, and I passed right out. Boom, flat on my floor, out cold, which I have learned is a very life threatening risk from these pulmonary embolisms. I wake up to him screaming at me, just screaming. And I get up, "What are you yelling at?" We're like almost in a fight now. He goes, "What am I yelling at? You're on the whole thing." I said, "Calm down. Calm down. I'm calling an ambulance." "No, not calling an ambulance." Wrong. So now this is where the disclaimer is like, do what I tell you, don't do what I did. Now, I do have a son in law who's an anesthesiologist. My husband called him when we were on the road because now I'm debating what hospital, who's got a CAT scanner. I don't want to pay for the ambulance. Like all these things are going through my head. When I told him that I passed out, he met me in the emergency room lobby. Typically, this is a son in law who, if I broke my leg, might check on me a day later and see how it went. But when I saw him standing there, I'm like, okay, yeah, something serious is going
It's
on.
real.
I didn't have any of that. My heart rate never really got up. My pulse ox, my oxygen level never got below 95. 100% convinced. You know why? Because of session two. That's what saved my life.
Mm.
All these session twos that I've been doing. But really, the fitness over the years is really what saved me. They draw blood on you to see if you have any heart damage. My troponins were all negative. They'll do an ultrasound of your heart to measure the speed at which the blood is moving through there, how thick your ventricle is, how hard it has to work. All that stuff was negative. They're like, "Man, you just look like nothing ever happened." I'm sure it's because of the fitness. So once again, if there's anything that's pushing me even more now to stay active, it's the recent hospitalization. So now I'm in the hospital with all the stuff. Now they put you on these heparin drip, blood thinners to thin your blood out. But I did have to get looked up for different kinds of cancers, clotting disorders, all these things, which mid-February I had them all redrawn normal. I am just the person who had this very rare condition that no one can explain. So once again, if you have any of this any kind of surgery, and they say move, walk, you got to do it, and don't blow off those symptoms. Long term, I am on Eliquis, a blood thinner, for 6 months. So that, of course, I probably should not be doing box jumps on a wood box. I kind of think okay if it's not a wood box. So I have done a few of those, more than a few of those actually. But what I won't be doing is any rope climbing till I come off of these blood thinners. There are just certain things that I can't do because yeah, I could die, get a bleed in your head or something like that. So I'm keeping it real, gonna go into it slowly. But anyway, I just want people to know that these are really risk factors, and especially with the aspirin, because the doctor will say to you, "Well, take it twice a day." So we get up at 8, we get up at 9, we get up at 6. Oh, I'll take it at night before I go to bed. You need to take that every 12 hours. You don't want these dips in that. You want to keep it very consistent. So that's just my nursing perspective on this very life threatening situation. I would call an ambulance if it ever happened to you. Don't just drive to the hospital thinking nothing's going to happen because basically that blood is sluggish, it's thick, and as it's going through your heart is stressing, trying to push that through, and your brain is recognizing that. So it makes you pass out and faint. So it can shunt blood to your brain easier
Yeah.
through preservation. That's what caused. So that's why when I told my son in law that I fainted, he's like, "You fainted, huh? Well, okay. Yeah, you better come over here." So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I think there's a lot of people in our community that obviously have a lot of injuries, orthopedic injuries. Orthopedic injuries for sure put you at more risk for it, but any kind of surgery, just really take those directions seriously. So that's
Yeah,
my
well,
experience.
that's great advice. I'm sorry that you had to experience your experience, but I
Well,
mean, sometimes, like, I know for me, it's usually the hardest way possible that's required for me to learn.
yeah, there
Even So I think both of our hope is that anybody who's watching or listening to this hears that and goes, "Oh yeah, I will follow that advice."
Mhm.
And I hope that's true.
I
I
hope so
hope that's
too.
true. As you're telling me this story, I'm thinking of my wife as well and myself, and she's more like you,
Mm.
where boy, she is about as gritty and as stubborn about this stuff as it
'Cause she
gets.
doesn't have time for it.
That's right.
She's a wife with kids, she don't have time for all
That's
this
right.
stuff. She's just
The things that
absorbing
she
and
has
moving on.
dealt with and the pain threshold that she has is incredible. Like, I think I probably would have gone to the and I do everything in my power to avoid going to the hospital. I'm like, "I think you probably should go to the hospital." Nah, no time. She'll
Yeah.
just stay awake all night dealing with the pain while I'm snoozing, and I had no idea. And,
Mhm.
oh,
Multiple times I've
well,
done
do
this.
as
I
you
had my
say, not
daughter
as
who
you
was
get.
my daughter's an emergency room nurse, she came down one night and said to me, I was having a gallbladder attack, which at that time I thought was related to an accidental sip of bleach water that I took, so I assumed that I was having, like, gastric irritation from this, but it was really my gallbladder. But my daughter come down, who's an emergency room nurse, said, "You know, mom, I just wanna know, are you doing things that we should know about? Because this is very bad. You need to go to the hospital." "I'm fine. I'm not doing anything," you know? Anyway, well, I don't even know why I said that.
Well, it's funny.
It's just how I am.
Yeah, and it seems logical that she would draw that kind of a conclusion, like, "What is my mom on? What is she taking? What is she
"Why are
doing?"
you like this?" Like, I'm laying on the floor flailing, "It'll be okay. I took some Motrin. Don't worry about it," you know? And she's like, "I don't know. Doesn't look good." And I didn't go to the hospital, and a month later, my coworker says, "My god, your eyes are jaundiced. What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "What? What's go" Anyway, I'm gonna get off that train.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all this. I mean, because the reason we do this podcast, honestly, is so we can hear these really interesting stories because there are people within the community that hear it and go,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I had something so similar," or "I know somebody that went through something just like that."
Well, just like you had Luke, what I listened to that podcast when he was talking about the shingles that he thought I thought I had shingles because I thought, why am I having all this scapular pain, all this itching? I had so many of those things that he had, and everybody was just like, because it wasn't typical. You think you got all this shoulder pain here. I had so much scapular pain under my scapula that was just horrendous. So I guess in some ways, maybe the medical community missed that. They didn't really identify that as being related to a rotator cuff, but his story resonated with me. I felt like, man, I had that same thing. I couldn't get over how much pain. And well, like I said, I had this numbness too running down my arm, but his story resonated with me. I hope nobody out there's pulmonary embolism is gonna resonate with anyone. I don't want that story to be out there, but
And it is, and people just aren't talking about it and haven't shared that story, and so the fact that we get people to be vulnerable on here and share these kinds of things, I think is super powerful, and I'm glad that you did. You know, what's funny is my mom texted me after
mhm.
Luke's and was like, and she watches them all, and I love that. She's a fan.
Hi, mom.
Yeah, hey, mom. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, Josh, I've been going through something as well." And I won't share all the details, but she shared she's going through something I had no idea about, and it was super similar to a set of circumstances like Luke. And so that just was a light bulb moment for me among many where people that hear these stories, and they find some sense of relief in that they're not the only ones experiencing it. Other people are going
Absolutely.
through the same things. And the other thing that this conversation, Karen, is leading me towards is the CrossFit community, this community, the masters CrossFit community, even to a greater degree, is experiencing things that very few people experience because we're pushing our bodies to a degree that very few people do. And we hide things when we're
Mhm.
experiencing them to a degree that many people don't.
For sure, I did.
And so then when you go to see a doctor, I can't tell you how many people I know that have had an injury, gone to a doctor, and the doctor said, "Yeah, you'll never do that again." And then sure enough, a year later or less, they're doing that and then some.
Mhm.
And it just blows my mind how many doctors, because now while they're very well intended, they're giving you the
Right.
best advice that they have based on their experiences and their intellect and their academic background. but they haven't experienced the things that we go through on a day-to-day basis, and so their
Mm.
perspective is coming from a place that you just can't relate to what we're going through, and so it's hard when a doctor's giving you advice and you're like, "Yeah, but," you know,
Mhm.
and you just know, like, you're not getting it. You're not quite
No, they
understanding, the role that this plays
especially
in
I'm
my
gonna
life.
tell you, especially for an older woman, whew, honey, I not one per I said, "Listen," I said to that one, surgeon who's a good friend of mine, I said, "Listen, if I came to you and said, 38-year-old guy that qualified for the Pro-Am golf tournament, but he's got a shoulder problem. Can you work with him and get through it?" You'd have been all over it. But since the 63-year-old grandma said, "I got this shoulder issue," all you told me to do was stop moving and it'll go away. Like, they don't
It's a good
and I think it's not even just medical field. I think people who don't have a passion at anything don't understand that drive, you know? Anybody who's successful at anything, like I said, you play the piano, you're good at foreign language, you're gonna focus on that. You're not you're good if you get hit in the batter's box with a pitch, are you just gonna quit playing baseball? I don't know how many times I said that to my grandson. I'm like, "Listen, you wanna quit and go home? What do you" It's part of what you do, and I don't know. The CrossFit, everybody just blames it on CrossFit. Just stop doing it.
easy.
It'll go away. No,
Yeah,
they will
just
not.
stop. Just take a week off. This is an ongoing conversation between my wife and I, and we're always poking fun at each other. My back will tweak, I get some spasm. This was fairly recently, and I'm like, I can't stand, I can't get out of bed. And she's like, well, take a day off. And I'm like,
Huh? Can't
take a
take a
day off?
day
Are you
off.
kidding me? Like, no, I'll just go find the
I'm
things
gonna
I can do.
and I'm gonna do it Thursday too, just to let you know. I'm
Yeah.
not just gonna do I'm gonna do it again. I
And so
know.
then she experienced something, and I'm like, yeah, Angie, like today, you should really take today off. And she's like, would you?
Mhm.
I'm like, well, no. And she's like, well,
Do
duh.
as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Once
So
again,
we
do as
can't
I say.
follow our own dang advice, which it's really, that's why your story is so relatable. For me personally, and I think for many that are hearing this is like,
I hope so.
look, you're going through stuff, but you're also battling this really competitive drive, a really disciplined personality type and mindset. And this desire to just not let things stop you, and not let things slow you down as severe as they might be. Yeah.
Seeing other people go through things does help you not feel so isolated and give you hope to move on. With that being said, different people on Instagram had injuries, they were recovering from it. They helped me see the light at the end of the tunnel, or at least just try to have patience. But also, when you're not getting better, when it's been 8 to 10 weeks and you're not better, I think that's a warning sign too. You do need to maybe go have another opinion or an opinion. Some of us, we don't even get an opinion, we just blow it off. And that's, I think, what really finally got me to move on when I was swimming and the next day I couldn't lift my arm. And I said, I am sick of these people telling me that it's just if I stopped what I was doing, it would go away. So I'm supposed to live with the numb arm for the rest of my life. Like, you have to be an advocate for yourself. And I would really encourage that being in the medical, especially the current state of the way healthcare and insurance companies are running it. You really have to stand up for yourself and not necessarily take no for an answer or just agree and cave. No, you know your body, you know what you want to do, and it's going to take more than one or two people to prove to me why I can't. So I need to, you just put a little salt, a little gas on my fire when you say, I don't think you should do that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Watch
Okay.
me.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm
I
starting to
gotta say,
change my tune a little bit, but
I think
I'm just determined to get better. I'm going to follow the Boulder programming. I'm going to trust the process. I think Jason has a lot of really great advice. You know, masters athletes, we don't like to recover because we think we have to catch up. But no, I know that that's not true. And I'm going to trust this programming and trust myself, hold the reins down. I am going to continue to see this physical therapist that I love. He's a great guy. And to have him guide me through it. Because right now, my surgeon, I go back in like 2 weeks to get the final. And he told me, oh, yeah, you can do anything you want. Whatever, if that's what you want to do, you go do it. The physical therapist is like, this guy has no idea what you're doing. And no, you're not doing that. So I'm going to trust
Exactly.
him to kind of guide me through the next year, follow the programming, take it with the grain of salt, have to back off on some of the percentages. And that's okay. Like I'm trusting it now. I've lived through what happens when you don't trust that journey. And I'm not going down that path again because I want it long term. Not necessarily for the podium or anything, but just because I wanna be the cool grandma. I wanna throw balls. I wanna climb things and whatever. Who knows what I wanna do? I wanna do whatever they're doing. I put my they all the kids, I got 9 grandkids, they come over, I set up
Like a
the
little
ladder that they have to jump through. They
oh, yeah.
have to pick up a stick, do some push-ups, and I time them. "Oh,
Oh,
yeah, you got a good time."
yeah.
Oh, and they're like, "Oh, I gotta do it again."
Yeah,
And I do it again.
absolutely.
Boys versus the girls. I said, "This is the girls 3 and under. Do the touch the bush and come back." And they're like, "Okay, okay."
You
Excited.
bust a timer out, you can get kids to do
"Oh,
about
I
it.
get the timer right out." I said, "Nope,
That
nope, you
I
didn't
I
do
do
it."
this with I've given this guidance to so many adults. Get a whiteboard. Just get a
Mhm,
whiteboard out and put a whiteboard somewhere. This works great when you get a pull-up bar, you mount a pull-up bar, put a whiteboard next to it, and you just write your name, somebody
mhm.
else's name, do as many pull-ups as you can and put the number there. Watch what happens. Just
Accountability.
watch what happens. All of a
Yeah,
sudden,
that's
somebody's gonna see that and be like, I'll take a swing at that." They're doing their
mhm,
thing. Up goes another
mhm,
number. "Hmm,
mhm.
I come back. I do something." It just
It is.
incredible to it's such an experiment, but it goes the same way every time.
Christmas at my house, I got Amazon gift cards hanging in my home gym, and we get in there and we go, 1 minute on the assault bike, pick your Amazon card. 1
That's
minute on the rower. This year we did 1 a minute on the skier with, dead hang as the tiebreaker. It's funny how good people get. Our stupid Amazon cards, but
somebody is gonna listen to this and go, "Poach that idea. That's going in their gym."
yeah, yeah, that's Christmas, I always got some kind of game or competition, but yeah,
Well,
when you
that's
got
awesome.
money hanging there, somebody's gonna push themselves a little bit harder. And it's always the 23-year-old kid that wins. It's never the 62-year-old sister of mine. No, they're not
Yes, you're
winning.
gonna start creating some divisions. It's getting too competitive. Now you gotta start breaking it up by age.
It's
There's a
just
reason
mostly
why
for
we do
fun.
that, Karen.
Just
Karen,
fun.
this has been such a good conversation. I'm so grateful that we did this, and I
I
have
hope
no
so.
doubt that folks are gonna hear this and not only be smiling as they listen, probably laughing along the way, but I think they're gonna find some real inspiration and relatability in your story, and I'm so grateful for that because it's exactly what I was hoping we would get into, and your candor and transparency allowed for that, so thanks a ton.
Thanks, Josh. Good luck to everybody. Take care.